In the architecture of the psyche, the king sits at the very centre. He is not a person, he is a principle. He is the axis around which your inner world turns. When the king archetype is alive within you, your life feels ordered, meaningful, and radiant with purpose. But when he is absent or corrupted, the kingdom of the self falls into chaos. The inner court turns against itself, and the psyche suffers under the rule of impostors, tyrants, weaklings, or fools. Welcome back to the Re-Entry Archive. Today we'll explore the king archetype, his qualities, his shadow, how he appears in visionary states, and how you can integrate his energy into your everyday life. The king archetype represents sovereignty, order, and benevolence. He is the organizing center of consciousness. He is the one who gives structure to the world within. Psychologically, he is the part of you that says, "This is my life, and I am responsible for what happens here." The true king does not rule through domination, but through presence. His authority is magnetic, not forceful. He doesn't need to shout to be obeyed. His calm radiance sets the tone for the entire inner kingdom. In Jungian terms, the king is the central archetype of order. He mirrors the cosmic principle of the self, the inner sun that holds all psychic energies in order. In myth, you can see him as Arthur, whose just rule unites a fractured land, or Osiris, whose death and resurrection brings fertility back to Egypt. In religious imagery, he is the Buddha on the lotus throne. He is the still point in a turning world. When the king archetype awakens within you, your actions begin to align with a higher purpose. You stop being ruled by impulse and start acting with intention. Your life starts to feel like it belongs to you, as if something in you has finally taken the throne. However, every archetype has a shadow, and when the king's energy becomes distorted, it manifests in two primary forms: the tyrant and the weakling. The tyrant king rules through fear, control, and insecurity. He is the part of you that must dominate, that cannot tolerate criticism, that crushes everything that threatens his illusion of control. He confuses order with oppression, and authority with ego. In the tyrant's kingdom, everything exists to serve his image. Love turns into possession, wisdom becomes ideology, and life loses its vitality under the weight of perfectionism and control. Then there is the weakling king, the one who abdicates responsibility altogether. He avoids leadership, avoids decision-making, and hides behind distraction. He allows chaos to reign because he fears the burden of power. He is the part of you that says, someone else will take care of it, even when it's your own life on the line. Both forms, tyrant and weakling, emerge when the true king energy has not been integrated. When the inner throne is empty, other forces rush in to occupy it. Integration means reclaiming sovereignty, learning to rule your inner world without oppression or avoidance. The king's lesson is that authority begins with self-mastery. You cannot rule a world until you rule yourself. The king archetype often reveals himself in psychedelic visions, sometimes subtly and sometimes as a grand revelation. Under the influence of powerful psychedelics, psilocybin, LSD, ayahuasca or DMT, many people describe encountering a radiant presence of authority, benevolence and intelligence. It can appear as a divine light, a cosmic monarch, a godlike intelligence, or even as your own higher self, observing your life from a higher plane. This is not a hallucination in the ordinary sense. It is the psyche projecting the archetype of the self through the symbol of kingship. It is your own mind showing you what your own sovereignty looks like when stripped of ego. You may feel judged, seen by something infinitely wise. You may feel blessed, filled with love and purpose. Or you may be confronted by the Shadow King, a vision of a corrupted authority that demands repentance and humility. In the DMT realm, this energy often manifests as a throne of light, a cosmic order, or a feeling of divine rampantness, the sense that everything is as it should be. This is the realization that you are both subject and ruler within your own psyche. There is no outer kingdom to conquer, only the inner one to rule wisely. Every authentic encounter with the king is an initiation into responsibility. To awaken the king within, something in you must die. Usually, it's the ego, that fragile, defensive self that seeks control but cannot truly handle power. Psychedelic states often accelerate this process, dissolving the small self so that the greater self can step forward. The experience of surrender, of ego death, is the coronation moment. It is the psyche crowning a new ruler, not the false king of pride, but the true sovereign of consciousness. But like all initiations, this is not easy. You may be shown where your inner kingdom is in ruins, where fear rules, where resentment festers, where compassion has been exiled. The king archetype doesn't spare you from the truth. He demands honesty, often radical honesty, about how you ruled your life so far. Yet when you accept that responsibility, something miraculous often happens. Peace descends. Your actions become more deliberate. You stop living life reactively and start creating consciously. Your kingdom is allowed to heal. So how do we integrate the king archetype after a psychedelic experience? Firstly, reclaim the throne of responsibility. Stop waiting for permission. Take ownership of your choices, your time, your emotions. This is the inner coronation, deciding that you are responsible for your own life. Secondly, rule with compassion, not control. The king's power is balanced by his heart. Authority without empathy becomes tyranny. Practice listening to others, to your intuition, and to the world. True leadership means creating space for others to flourish. Thirdly, establish order. Bring routine and structure into your life. The king creates stability, not to restrict life, but to channel its energy. Daily discipline and mindful habits are clear priorities in the inner rituals of kingship. Fourthly, bless your kingdom. The king's gift is his capacity to bless, to radiate affirmation. When you acknowledge the goodness in others, you are acting from the king archetype. When you inspire rather than command, you are ruling wisely. Finally, beware of imposters. Watch out for the tyrant. He is the perfectionist and the controller. And look out for the weak one. He is the avoidant and the passive. The balance lies in firm compassion. Decisive yet kind. Structured yet flexible. Psychedelic insights mean little if they remain abstract. To embody the king is to turn insight into action, to make the visionary crown a daily practice. In conclusion, the king archetype is not about superiority, it's about stewardship. It's the energy that says, I am responsible for this life, and I choose to rule it with wisdom, order, and love. In the end, every journey towards self-realization is a quest to reclaim the throne within. The psychedelics may open the gates to the palace, but only daily, conscious effort can keep it in balance. When you rule yourself with clarity and compassion, the whole kingdom, your mind, your relationships, your life, begins to harmonize around you. And this is the true mark of a king. When the inner king is strong, the outer world comes into order. Rule yourself, and you rule your destiny.